Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Zara Windy, the podcast's third season. And I'm really, really happy to be on this call with Alok Appadurai, calling from Arizona. And so, Alok is the founder and CEO of Uplift Millions, a global coaching company for impact driven, service based entrepreneurs who want to change the world. We're going to go deeper into what this really means, but all I can say is that I've been following Alok on Facebook, and each time I see his posts, I have a surge of energy, positive energy, and I felt like, wow, I want to really share this with my audience because we all can use some of that, whether we're an entrepreneur or not. And so I really appreciate Alok's vibe, and really it is very uplifting. So wherever you are in the world, I hope you'll benefit from this conversation. Alok, thank you so much for being with me today. Thank you, Alok. And so I really would love for you to share a little bit of of course, your business now as a coach, but especially your journey on how you were able to get to this place. I know a lot of people tend to just see the success right at the very end. They don't realize. I always think of that image of the iceberg, like I
Yeah,
don't know if you've seen that meme, and
totally.
people focus on that, and maybe they're like, oh, I want to get there now, and maybe they're just getting started, and they don't realize that it's been a lifetime in the making. So
Oh
maybe
my
we can start with
gosh.
that.
Yeah, we in our world we call it a 20-year overnight success,
Yes.
right? And you'll see all these people posting about it and they're like, "Oh my gosh, look how amazing things are," and they don't actually tell the journey, right? And I'm the opposite. I lead with the journey, all the fall downs, the bumps, the
Right.
bruises, the
That's so
you know,
relatable. That's why it's so inspiring. Yeah, yeah.
oh my God.
Exactly.
I tell people all the time there are easier paths than this one. Thanks so much. Yeah, at Uplift Millions, we are a coaching company for the folks that want to touch lives. They want to make a difference, and they haven't quite cracked the code on being able to earn the cash flow that can really finance what their biggest vision for what they want to do during their lifetime. Right? People talk a lot about making an impact. I want to make an impact. I want to touch lives, and I'm like, do you know how much that costs? Like we got to get our heads screwed out right here. That like that big vision of yours needs some, money, energy to flow through it. So yeah, we do a lot of work around that. But I guess the journey to get there, I've built 4 impact-driven companies. And in my 20-year career, one was in sustainable fashion, one was in global media for women, one was in clean energy and converting that into electricity and fuel. But in 2016, I lost everything. And it was one of those moments in life. I was a half-time single dad, and I had my little boy, and we shared a one-room studio. I had no car. I barely could keep a roof over our heads. And, I really felt the edge, right? The edge of, oh my gosh, like not only am I going to have to possibly give up on my dreams, but and go get a job or whatever, but like will I be able to be a provider? Will I be able to provide for that little boy who was relying on his daddy? And that was really the turning point moment, because up until then, as an entrepreneur I could kind of wing it, right? Like I could go for these big ideas to change the world, and if it didn't really work out, well, I could sleep on someone's couch. But
Right.
in that moment, that was no longer an option. So
Right. Parenthood changes a lot. Changes the game.
woo!
So let me backtrack a little bit. Alec, you've always been an entrepreneur. Did you start at a young age? Like when did you start and say, okay, I want to be my own boss? When did that happen to you?
Yeah, I started in mission-driven business actually at age 11, and I
Oh,
started going. Yeah,
precocious.
yeah, pretty much. I started going door to door in rural upstate New York, selling water purifiers with my late Uncle Jim, who taught me everything
Oh,
that I knew
okay,
about,
okay.
how to be able to earn a great living by also making other people's lives better. I didn't know that's what was going on back then. I
Right,
just wanted
right,
to earn
right,
a
right.
couple extra bucks. But yeah, those were the early days.
So you had a mentor of sort, a business mentor early on. I think that makes a difference, probably like a big difference. Like mentorship comes up a lot, right? In terms of
Yeah,
people
he
who
taught
really,
me the
really
most
succeed.
important things that I ever learned about impact driven business, which was sell things that make other people's lives better
Mhm.
and sell to clients you love so that you never feel you're working a day in your life.
Wow, and that you learned with the water purifiers.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay.
I remember I'll never forget it to this day.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I was just like, wow, like you get to earn a great living by making other people's lives better.
Right, right.
Wow.
Is that what you mean by the impact driven? Can you talk more about what that means to you?
Yeah, impact driven, I think that comes in a lot of different forms, but our community, our family of clients that are people who typically want to use their mind, their knowledge to be able to make a change in somebody else's life, right? So whether that's by improving somebody's health or helping them grow a business or helping them fix their relationships, right? Like, so our people tend to make an impact by wanting to see others be able to make a transformation in their lives so that the rest of their lives can be better,
Mhm.
right? I think mission driven business can come in a lot of forms. I think there are people that sell products that are phenomenal that do that. But in our particular case, we're really focused on knowledge based entrepreneurs who want to monetize their calling.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. And so let's go back to that moment in 2016. Like I feel like a lot of successful entrepreneurs have that moment, that crucial moment where you're like, okay, this isn't working, and something's got to change. So what was that first step that you took that was like, okay, this is the beginning of the rest of my life?
I would say the first step was really surrendering.
Okay.
Surrender. Like I had to just, oh my gosh, the ego, the pride, all of that just got pummeled, right? Because there I was, I had been this rising star in the social impact business space. I had given a TEDx talk, gotten all these public accolades and all of that, Zara. And you know what? In that moment when I had lost everything and the wheels fell off, it was really that kind of coming to God moment where I was like, what what am I not doing?
Mm.
It's like, God, don't you see, like, I'm putting everything on the line for the last 15, 20 years. I work hard, I'm dedicated, I've got a big mission, big mission and vision. I'm leading from my heart. Oh, I was like I'm on my knees, like, what? So I think it was really surrender. That first step was just surrender, like, okay, like, what am I holding on to? Where is my ego getting in the way? And the process, honestly, if I'm really straight up, like I had to make ends meet, and I swallowed my pride. I got a customer service job inside. A friend of mine helped me out, and she was like, you know what? There's this company I work for, and I can get you a job in customer service, way below you, quote unquote,
Mm, mm,
way
mm,
below
mm,
you,
mm,
right?
mm,
And I was like, you know what? I need to put a roof over my head. I need to pay rent. I'll take it. I'll do whatever. And the company almost didn't want to give me a job. They were like, your disc profile, your personality test is like the CEO.
mm.
They're like, we don't want
Overqualified,
your
yeah.
customer service. They literally, I had to beg. I had to beg for that job. But that was that turning point moment because it was inside and I learned so much. And that's what my friend said, take this job. It's going to open your eyes to so much. It's actually, you're a perfect client for this company. But it was that surrender piece, and I just stripped myself away. It was like stripping naked, and I just came back and I said, what do I know better than 95% of the people around me? And I said, well, it's sales. And so I just said, let me start over, and I'll just use that skill to help other people with a good heart and good mission vision, and we'll see where we go from there.
Well, that's a really good skill to have. Sales. If there's one skill you want to have, it might be that one.
I
But
thank my late Uncle Jim, right? From age 11, he
thank
kind of
you,
started
Uncle.
teaching me that. And so I said, well,
Yeah.
you know what? I
He's
started
like,
noticing, what I saw, Zara? I noticed that so many people who live with and want to make an impact, right? They didn't know how to go out and get a customer and sell.
that's why I'm saying sales is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. there's a lot of resistance. Even me, I've had a lot of resistance with the sales portion of my work. Like, so people are sensitive to that, of course. Your clients, even if they see an amazing product, but they feel your resistance to the sales process, that's kind of a turn off.
Yeah, sales has such an icky name, right? Like
Yes,
nobody wants to be like that used car salesman.
yes,
They don't, right? Like nobody wants to feel like pushy and aggressive
yes.
and manipulative and use all the slimy tactics. What I say to people is sales gets to be fun.
Right, right, right.
When you learn soul aligned selling, like it gets to just be fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Doesn't have to be sleazy.
Doesn't have to be
Yeah,
sleazy.
yeah, yeah. It can be service, it can be sexy, it can be fun. Yeah, I agree.
It
Yeah,
can be all those things.
yeah, yeah. But I really love what you were saying. Like it seems like that missing component you're talking about is the spirit component.
Yeah.
And so I'm a holistic coach where we work with the mind, the body, and the spirit. And oftentimes that's the missing component. And so people are like, I'm doing everything right. I'm working so hard. I follow all the books. I've done all the courses. And then there's something missing. And and part of spirit is that surrender and that humility that you're actually talking about is humility. So I love that you bring this out, and I do see that in some of your shares. Like once in a while, it comes out, and yeah, I think that's really beautiful. Can you talk to us about your? Do you have a spiritual practice? You talked about God, and a lot of there's also that resistance. There's a resistance to sales. There's a resistance sometimes to that word that you're using. So can you tell us about your practice?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, my work, I've been spiritual since I was really young. I remember uh, I was in India and I don't know, maybe I was 3, 4 years old. My dad's from India and my hand got slammed by accident in a car door. And
Oh,
I was wearing a plastic ring, like you get out of a gumball machine but it had like an Indian deity on it. And essentially the ring got shattered, but my hand was fine. And so, I've had a direct connection with
wow.
the divine, for as long as I can remember. And it really wasn't, my mom came from Christianity, my dad came from Hinduism, and it was always
Yeah.
kind of this confusing journey. But about age 13, I sort of just realized, you know what, like I have a direct connection to the divine. I believe everybody has a direct connection to the divine, and
At
I live from
13.
that energy. Yeah, at 13, because I was so confused. It wasn't like some sophisticated way of thinking spiritually. It was more like, honestly, I was like, I don't get like these Christians and these Hindus, like everybody thinks they're right. And I'm kind of my genetic code is both of these traditions.
Yeah, yeah.
How do I make sense of all of it? And all I came to was, you know what? Like, I don't really know what is right or wrong based on all these people's opinions. And I sort of just started talking to God and was like, well, I know you exist. I don't really know everything about it. And I just simplified. I was like, well, I don't need anybody else to agree with me. I just like I started channeling a direct relationship to God. And I believe that's accessible to everybody. Um, and I don't believe I'm special or anything like that in that regard. And so it weaves now into my business. Like, so
Yeah.
when people are in any of my programs, like I talk about flow and universal wisdom and I don't say anybody has to believe what I believe. It's more, look, if they're paying me a bucket of money, I'm going to tell them what worked for me,
Right.
and it wasn't just marketing strategies and sales, right? It really was tapping into that inner wisdom, that inner guidance, right? And moving from a place of spiritual alignment that then connects to your mission and purpose, right? And once you have that alignment, all the business stuff can really start working.
And so, can you describe what your spiritual, if you have a spiritual practice, what is it like?
Yeah. So, I have a direct conversation with God in the morning when I wake up.
Okay, so
And
like a morning ritual to start the
it
day.
is. There's
Okay.
morning rituals that are literally, and I want everybody to hear this. It's not fancy, okay?
Sure, sure.
Like
Doesn't
I
have to
don't.
be.
It doesn't have to. I'm not. I don't want the listeners to think, oh, he goes and sits on a pillow. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it's not like that. It is really
Yeah.
more this kind of like when I open my eyes, I move into a gratitude practice, right? So deep
So
gratitude.
you're still in bed before you get out of bed.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Same thing at night, right before I go to sleep, reconnect to the divine, move back into my gratitude practice, right? And so there's that piece. And then there's the channeling that I do when I'm beginning to think about what's the next phase of our work.
Yes.
And then there's just, a lot of spiritual growth, a lot of spiritual development. I've done plant medicines and lots of other things to really just be tapping in at a soul level. And yeah, it's yeah.
So Alok, what would you if you had a piece of advice to give to somebody who like you maybe built a successful career over time and then found themselves in a really difficult situation, which has been the case a lot, with the pandemic, and I'm going to say even more so maybe in the Philippines, where we're still we're not a fully industrialized country, and we've been really hard hit with the lockdowns, very strict restrictions. So if you had a piece of advice, what would you tell these people?
Yeah, when things are going well, it's easy to have certain philosophies like we live in a friendly, not a hostile world, right? Or everything's working for us, not against us, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's easy to believe as a philosophy when life's going great.
Right.
It's way harder to continue to hold those philosophies when life gets difficult, right? So my pandemic moment was 2016. Right. It was like, oh my gosh. Right. Like, and
the crumbling.
That crumble. I mean, everything around me was falling apart. It seemed like I had no options. I had lost everything. I had no money. All my credit cards were maxed out just to pay rent and keep you right. Like that moment was scary and all the things. And it's very easy to move into victim energy to your circumstance.
Yeah.
And then you see people giving away all of their power, right? And thinking that nothing's possible and losing hope. And what I would say is, because people will say, well, look, it's easy. You're going through the pandemic and you've built a 7-figure company. And of course, it's easy for you to say all these things. And I said, no. 5 years ago, I had nothing. I mean, there was no options. I was taking the bus, to try to go see a movie. And that's what I called a vacation. So I do hold that even in the most complicated circumstances, because here's what I don't tell people often is that when I lost everything, it was the best thing that could have happened to me.
I was just thinking that.
And I didn't know it. The thing is, I didn't know it in the time. And if you had told me that I would ever be on a podcast with you and tell you that losing everything was the best thing that ever happened to me, I would have told you you're crazy.
Yeah.
You're crazy. What do you mean? Don't you see what's happening? I'm losing everything. Everything's falling apart. And now I can look back and realize that what I learned and the changes that I made in that time period when I had nothing, right, was the most important changes that I could have made to actually not only unlock, building a successful company and all those things, but actually making more impact than I ever would have made before. So I just would say to people, and I know it sounds like a cliche, like, oh my God, sometimes I want to puke a little bit just hearing my own self, because it sounds like a cliche. It's like, don't lose the philosophies that you might have had when everything was great, right? Don't lose those philosophies just because things got harder, right? Don't lose the philosophy that life is working for you in this very moment. How can you see what might be working for you? How can you see how life might be working in a way that, because the universe is working for us even when it doesn't look like it is.
When we don't realize it, yeah.
No. And those are the moments where it's the easiest to say, for example, if you have a spiritual practice, God doesn't care about me, right? And I'm like, no, God's working something out on your behalf. Like, are you continuing to stand in your power and stand in your creative imagination and you use your ingenuity and your ability to be a powerful creator despite what you're seeing going on, right? Because people will say the line like, everybody got screwed during the pandemic. And it's like, no, that's not true, actually.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people get really creative. I've seen a lot of people,
Exactly.
evolve and change and learn and shift and develop and grow,
Yeah.
right? So it's
I
up to you.
really thank you. That's so meaningful because I feel like since the nature of business is evolving so much, there's a big part of having to let go to tap into that creativity, right? And people are afraid of letting go, so they're not creating that space for their creative energies. I'm just kind of paraphrasing.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's a powerful creator. You were born
Yes.
a powerful creator. You were born endowed with a mind that can continue to think and evolve and grow and problem solve and change and develop and right? Like the
Yeah.
moment that you say, I'm getting screwed by everything around me, is the moment that you've let go of all of your power, right? And you're telling the universe, I'm no longer a creative being. It's not
And
true.
also when like you were saying, when things are in the growth and expansion period, we tend to either get our ego inflated, like, oh, I'm so awesome, or we get to kind of rely on old paradigms and not be as creative, right? Because we don't have that need for for invention and innovation. So in a sense, crises are great opportunities for reinvention. And yeah, I totally agree with you. So it has a lot to do with our attitude, and that's why I feel like that connection to the divine that you're talking about is so important, because it can make or break your experience of the crisis, right?
Yeah, I mean, that the whole line of, the attitude of gratitude, right? Like even when things were not good for me, like I knew I still had my mind. I knew I still had the ability to think my way into a better situation, right? I could have either been a victim to the circumstances. And believe me, I had friends that were like, you're getting totally screwed by all these people and stuff like that. And the evidence was there. But if I had stayed stuck in that, I never, because once I took personal
Yeah.
responsibility, right? And I was like, okay, I've made certain decisions that put me into this circumstance. Okay, that means I'm a powerful decision maker. I can make certain decisions that will move me out of that circumstance.
I agree, because when we the energy that we expend in blaming other people, it's a huge amount of energy actually. And we can be using that in another more creative manner. So that's I
Oh
like
my
how you
God, you
mentioned that.
just nailed it. Blame, like when I was blaming other people for why my life was the way that it is, guess what? My ego felt good, right? You feel self-righteous, but you didn't change your situational,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You just could sit there and wallow in your own
Actually, you
stuff.
maintain that
That's
situation.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, it gets worse.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's worse, right?
Yeah,
My
and
circumstance would only get worse and worse and worse.
yeah, it gets worse. Really? Okay. Okay. I thought, yeah, it gets worse even, because yeah, when you focus on what's not working, right? Yeah. And I see so many people blaming and complaining, and kind of like, wow, they don't. If only they realize what kind of power they're expending, and how they're giving it away in that manner.
Yeah, because what they don't realize is that that energy is a negative vibration. It's a negative frequency. And I used to like not believe in any of that. But I mean,
Yeah.
just think about it. Even if you don't believe in the woo-woo stuff, I mean,
Yeah.
just think about it. Like someone who's complaining and negative and blaming people. I mean, do you think like they're attracting good opportunities towards them?
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
like they're not, right? It's like they're actually repelling anything good coming their way by being so negative.
Mhm. Well, there would I mean, I agree with you. I'm just thinking there's that argument of like some people who are not nice people like get very successful as well. But then I also feel like we only see part of that success, right? Like we don't see what's going on with their inner demons. We don't see like how sustainable it is. And we have to be, it's so surface sometimes when people just look at the flashing shiny objects. And we
Yeah,
really.
I mean, I think people will feel like, I hear what you're saying. I hear that argument a lot, right? Which is like,
Yeah.
oh, well, those bad people are super successful and get the big fancy houses and the fancy
Right.
cars and all of that, right? Right. And what that really comes out of people having a misdirected focus and believing in lack. Like,
Right.
oh, it's only those people that are getting all of those things, there's not enough for me. And actually what I share with people, especially when we're doing money mindset work
Mm.
and abundance work, is like, there's no lack, there's no
Right.
scarcity, there's no shortage,
Mm.
right? And like, it's, you get to focus on exactly what you want to be the creator of in your life, rather than moving your attention and your focus over to those people that are doing certain things.
Yeah. That scarcity mentality that still weighs a lot. Yeah.
And that used to be me, right? I used
Yeah.
to be there,
Right.
judgmental, negative,
Yeah.
thinking money made people evil and greedy and bad and all the things. And yeah.
Wow. There's so much growth and so many layers of the onion. So I feel like you had that, instead of the gradual shedding of the layers, you had that intense experience that maybe propelled it, made it faster. Because 5 years is not a very long time to build a successful business that you've built now. Can you tell us a little bit about your business now, and who's it for, and maybe invite some people who might be interested?
Yeah, sure. At Uplift Millions, we're really looking for people that have a big mission and vision, right? Who know that there's a calling inside of them, that they want to be of service. They want to be part of making the world head in a better direction. They know that they were built for more. And they probably want to be some sort of service-based entrepreneur, right? Either a coach, a consultant, a service provider, and we have two different levels. We've got a level one that is for people that are sort of in that 0 to 6 figures a year, right? So they're in that early stage. They're working on getting the core foundations in place. I joke with people, it's really the foundations that can change how you earn for the rest of your life, so you can make an impact. And then level two is for those people who already are at 6 figures in their coaching or their consulting or service-based business. And they are looking to no longer be a solopreneur, right?
Mm.
Who's wearing every hat in their company, doing 5 different jobs in the company and basically have a glorified job, right? They can't really take vacations, they have to work all the time, and they really want to evolve into being CEO of an impact-driven coaching or consulting or service company, right? And they want to have a team. And so that's really that second level, who wants to go from 6 figures to 7 figures. So anyway, yeah, for anyone out there who is, if that sounds like a good calling and you want to be in a community of people who are thinking that way, and being courageous and bold, right? It's not for the faint of heart. There's no magic potion or silver bullet. We do know the steps to get there, but if that sounds like you, and you want to be part of Uplift Millions, and happy to communicate further. You can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram, or wherever.
Thank you so much for that. Alok, you also have you have a Facebook group, I think, that's free for people to join. What's
Yeah, I would say actually the best place.
Yeah.
I'd say the best place, we're actually migrating, because we've actually launched a standalone Uplift Millions app. And so we're actually going to be shutting down the Facebook group. So if people go to, yeah, so we've got, we now, our community's over, and don't worry, I haven't announced it publicly, so you're kind of one of the but it's we.upliftmillions.com. And that'll take people right to the Uplift Millions network, or they can look on the iPhone or Android app stores and just search for Uplift Millions, and they can just find the app, download it. There's like 150 free trainings across
Wow.
strategy, marketing, sales, leadership, like whatever you might want.
So that
Totally
would be the
free.
best way to like get started with you.
Totally best way. Just
All
come into
right.
the app, go download the app, and literally just start going through those trainings. Like
Nice, nice.
anybody who's just looking for a jump start, they're not fluff, they're not BS, they're just the value packed trainings that are in there.
Yeah, yeah. And so how much is it for the app?
It's free.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right now
Amazing.
we haven't started charging for it. So
Amazing.
this is the moment to go and just download that app and just literally you can write, we ask some questions because we do want to make sure that the quality of people in there. So it's, but yeah, as soon as you're accepted in, it's all free right now. And they can just start going through all of those 150 free trainings.
Amazing,
It's
amazing.
our gift to everybody out there who wants to kind of get a leg up, whether you're already started in your
Yeah,
coaching consulting business or you're just getting rolling. Like
right, right.
go dive in.
Awesome. So I'll just include that in the notes so people can check that out. All right, Alec, thank you so much for your
Oh,
time
it's been an absolute pleasure.
and for your energy, your uplifting vibration. I think the name of your company is so perfect for you. And I really wish that you continue uplifting millions. And
Oh, thanks
yeah,
so much for
yeah.
having me. It's been such a joy. Your energy is infectious also, and it's a real pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Alec. I'll see you online.
Great. Bye-bye.
Bye.